Right. So it is Mohammed Salman, Devendra, Nadeem, and then finally the information brought to us by investigations editor Manoj Gupta is that this individual on the right side of your screen, his name is Tariq from Shambhura village in Pulwama. So the J&K link also emerging in this case. So this individual, Tariq from Shambhura village in Pulwama, is he the one, was he the last owner of this Hyundai i20 which was used in this terror attack? And has this finally cleared the link to terror cells in Jammu and Kashmir? I'm joined by my colleague Anand Narasimhan on the broadcast to get more details. So Anand, this is a huge development that is emerging. First, we learned that Mohammed Salman had sold this car to Devendra, and to figure out the chain of events, the big name emerging from this chain is this individual Tariq from Shambhura village in Pulwama.
Good evening. Ayushman, and to our viewers. See, this is big because Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these details. We've also got confirmation with the image. The Haryana registration was perhaps to throw people off because the last owner of this used vehicle is from the Shambhura village in Pulwama. And guess where the Pulwama connection takes us? The Pulwama connection takes us back to the ongoing investigation and the crackdown on this entire module. And the originator and the mastermind and the first arrest also happened. And there is a Pulwama connection to this and a Jammu and Kashmir connection. Now we also understand why the Jammu and Kashmir police was also present at the Red Fort. And somewhere they all seem to be connected. Are there other people in this module? Are there other people who have had access to some of that explosive, making material that has been taken out, by nearly 3 tons of it? We have to wait and watch where the investigation proceeds. But this I-20 that blew up outside the Red Fort station with the Haryana license plate had a owner who belongs to the Shambhura village of Pulwama, Jammu and Kashmir. And were these people connected? I think that's the next dot that would be lined if Dr. Muzammil, his accomplices, the other doctors, the person in Faridabad, the Maulvi there from whom the house was rented, this guy who buys the car and the other occupants of the car, were they all connected and were they all linked? That's going to be the biggest question mark right now, and perhaps the investigators will be moving in that direction quickly.
Absolutely, and that is the big development that's coming in. As you can see, the RC of the vehicle on the left side of your screen in the name of Mohammed Salman, and the current owner is this individual named Tariq, who hails from Pulwama. So, but Anand, at the end of the day, this also brings up very troubling questions about the reach of these terror elements from across the border through the Kashmir Valley, now in the national capital. The busts that have been made in the Dhoj village in Faridabad, where close to 3,000 kilograms of IED making materials have been seized, along with rifles as well as ammunition. And now this link to J&K over a blast that has taken place in the heart of the national capital. The capacity of these cells to strike deep in the heart of India is something that will, raises a lot of questions for the security grid of the nation.
Our security agencies do not know where they're going to strike, where they're operating, where they're hiding. Sometimes right under the light itself, where it is darkest. So, but the fact is that our agencies have to get it right 10 on 10 times. These elements and these terrorists, they can go wrong 9 times, and they get it right once. That also can lead to loss of lives and innocence, and creating an unnecessary atmosphere that could derail the entire growth track that Bharat is on. The other part is that this is now very, very clear that the enemy is not going to mend its ways. So will there be an unpause button on Operation Sindoor? Will there be perhaps a far greater calibrated attack at trying to eliminate all those who continue to harbor these kind of entity elements, and also to try and push them? This also shows that there is a sign of desperation, that they really want to create something big, a series of blasts, etc., to create a certain amount of strife. Now, does this just limit itself to the enemy right across the border, or are there greater powers at play who really want to destabilize and derail Bharat's growth process? That's another question for another day and another debate itself, conversation itself. But these are all aspects that we have to consider when we look at this. The other thing is that there is also the enemy, these people who want to foment terror on Indian soil, are also looking at the non-kinetic measures. It's only a matter of time when this entire ISKP module that's been busted in Gujarat, there is a connection which connects back to these elements who are now pushing both kinetic and non-kinetic. When I say kinetic, is through explosive material, arms, ammunition, creating the traditional terror strikes and fidayeen suicide attacks and bomb blasts, etc. But on the other hand, the non-kinetic option is where they start getting to biochemical, using biochemical weapon systems like ricin, etc. That this doctor wanted to do, mix it in prasad at temples and also in water, at holy water, and create mass hysteria and deaths, etc., and also dent psychologically the belief system of Bharatiya people and their confidence, and try to unnecessarily instill fear in the mind of people and a certain level of panic. But somewhere our agencies have been able to crack down. And imagine if 3 tons of this explosive material had found its way all across the country. Imagine the number of blasts it could have triggered and the damage it could have done. So our agencies have been able to thwart a major terror module and a terror initiative. And this is going to set the enemy back a bit. But because the agencies are now much wiser to this entire modus operandi, but this will take a little bit of effort from the internal security wise. It poses a great challenge, and one has to just see whether the dynamics of the tri-services exercise just assume a different dimension going forward in the coming days, given what has happened in Delhi today and what's unfolded over the course of the last 48 hours, and more importantly, over the course of the last week, ever since the first arrest was made by JK police in Pulwama in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right. Anand, at the same time, is it time that the security agencies also rethink how we look at OGWs? At one point, OGWs were only seen as terror supporters within the valley, providing logistics to terrorists coming from across the border. Now, with this entire cell that has been busted with an attempt to develop ricin, then the 3,000 kilograms of IED making material busted in Faridabad, and now the Pulwama link to the Red Fort terror attack. Should we now look at the OGW nexus as beyond Jammu and Kashmir? Is it time that there should be a nationwide sweep looking at these OGW networks that are emanating from Jammu and Kashmir?
Well, white-collar terrorists and white-collar terrorism was a phenomenon when they were called sleeper cells. And these were not ordinary people. And today we can see that there are highly radicalized elements among the highly educated population too. Who's radicalizing them? Who's seeded them? How long have they been seeded here? We have to wait and watch. Are these all people who have been radicalized in their youth and they've continued to go on living, and these people have just been activated to start collecting about 3 tons of ammonium nitrate, which is present in a lot in urea, is not easy because they've done so without raising suspicion. To have timers, to have other wires and other equipment to create and make IEDs, and also to walk around and have AK-47s, etc., along with multiple rounds of magazine, is not easy. It takes time to accumulate. So this means that this whole preparation has been in process for a while. But under whose directions and what is their motive, we'll have to wait and watch. But yes, we will have to double up the efforts and perhaps weed out some of these sleeper cells and some of these terrorists who have embedded themselves deep within Indian society, and they've tried to hide in plain sight. But kudos to our central agencies, our intelligence agencies, and also the state police, because for the state police functioning, machinery to coordinate with each other, cooperate with each other, and to work together in the interest of the country is a big step that we are taking. Because earlier we would see, police try to quibble over credit and also not allow access, and be using this entire internecine rivalries between the state police, etc. units. Terrorists and nefarious elements used to get away with trying to hurt innocent people. But all of that has stopped. And I think that's a big fillip. But like I said, our security forces are faced with this daunting challenge of not just shooting in the dark, but having to hit bullseye every time, because they've got to get it right every time. And for the terrorists, they can try 99 times out of 100. And just that once, if they get it right, they can wreak a lot of havoc and cause damage across, at various levels. physically, psychologically, emotionally, and of course, nationally in terms of reputation of the country. So there are multiple dynamics, but this is a big step forward in the investigation, which perhaps closes the loop or perhaps makes someone lean towards what's happened in the last 48 hours and link it with that very terror module.